You might remember last week, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville joined me here on Washington Watch to highlight his efforts to stop the military's extreme and, quite frankly, possibly illegal abortion policies. Actually, I think they are illegal. And I commend the senator's principled stand for life and for the Constitution and the role of Congress. But not everyone agrees. His stand has drawn a few detractors among Democrats in the Senate, but also today at the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin claimed that the hold that Senator Tuberville has placed on military appointments is a threat to national security. Now, here's one way this could be resolved overnight. Go back to the other policy that the military has been operating under, where it is not shipping people across the country paying for abortions. That's one way to take care of it very quickly. Well, join me now to discuss this and more about our nation's military is FRC's Executive Vice President, retired Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, who spent the last 4 years of his 36-and-a-half-year military career serving as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence at the Pentagon. He was also one of the original members of the Army's Delta Force. General, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tony. I'm glad to be with you.
So far, 160 senior military appointments have been held up, and they're not being held up completely. It's just they have to go through the regular order. Each one has to be individually voted on, so it really grinds the Senate to a halt, which, frankly, I don't think is a bad thing. But is this an endangerment to our nation's military, as the Secretary said today?
No, it is not. In the military, as you well know from your time in the military, you don't replace somebody until you have a replacement for them, which means the person holding that slot stays there until he has a replacement. This whole thing is I think it's more propaganda than anything else. They want the American public to believe that Tuberville and his maybe some of his cohorts are intentionally reducing readiness. But if you listen to what Tuberville says, he's talking about not allowing them to use taxpayer dollars for abortions. That's the whole crux of what he's doing.
Elective abortions.
Yes.
Which is against the law.
Right.
So he's just holding the military accountable to what the law is. But I'd also go back to his interview with us last week, where he said that according to the military's own testimony, only about 20 of these abortions took place previously. So it's not like this threatens military readiness, so they have to take these extreme measures of violating the law to acquire abortions for these women.
That's right. And combine that with everything else that we've seen in the last 2+ years, the woke agenda and the mandated vaccines and all of that, and ask yourself, are we really building a capable military? Or are we focused on other things which have nothing to do with the readiness of our military and their capabilities to win the nation's wars?
Well, actually, I want to play today in the Oversight Committee in the House. Congressman Clay Higgins made this comment in his remarks. Play clip 14.
In society, woke is a social discussion. But in the military, woke is weak. And that's the problem.
Would you agree with that statement, General?
I don't know this guy, but I like him.
He's from Louisiana.
I could tell by his accent.
I mean, the military is saying this stuff is not detracting from its primary mission. But I would say that this abortion, this fixation with abortion is detracting from the major mission of the military. They could move forward tomorrow if the Secretary of Defense would simply say, we're going to obey the law.
That's exactly right. If they did what Tuberville is asking them to do, which is the right thing to do, because I believe, as you do, that if they took this to court, I don't think that DOD could sustain this position.
Right.
Because of the Supreme Court.
But this administration is almost lawless.
Yeah.
In the way they pursue their radical agenda when it comes to the abortion issue and the transgender issue.
That's exactly right. And this whole transgender thing, it is beyond me to understand what they think this contributes to the readiness of our military.
It doesn't.
What does it contribute? And by the way, if you're the commander-in-chief, every decision you make about the military ought to be made after you've considered how does it help us? How does it help us to win the nation's wars? It is not a lab for experimentation. It is a place for you to train up men and women to be able to go and defeat our enemies. And what we're doing is we're wasting precious time that we should be using to train these people and to get them ready at maximum readiness to be able to launch on a moment's notice and fight and win the wars. And that is not what we're focused on. And what's happening is people are coming out demoralized. They're leaving the military service, or more importantly, they're not going in the military service. Right. And I don't care what Austin says. I talk to a lot of people.
Well, the numbers speak for themselves.
That's right.
They are not able to meet their recruiting numbers.
Yeah.
General Hoyt, great to talk with you.
Good to be with you.
Thanks.